So I play Indian classical music. I play Indian classical music on the violin, and this is considered to be the most ancient form of music in the world. And the basic tenets of this music, the pillars of this music is rag and tal, which is melody and rhythm. And we have, I wouldn't, rag literally means something that colors your mind. So the scale that you play. So in India, we had over 4,840 scales. And since this music was never written down, never documented, a lot has been lost. And probably right now, a maximum of 500 to 600 such scales are left, musical scales. And yes, I play the vocal style of music on the instrument. So I try to reproduce vocal music in totality. So this is what I do. And I'm ready for some questions if you have any. Yeah. Yes, let me just check. I don't think I see any questions. So the way we train, it's a lot favorite rag. I do. I love all rags. It depends on what is working in my mind at that time. Um, Somebody's asked me about my posture and my technique. Yeah. So basically, right now I'm sitting on the sofa. Usually, I sit cross-legged on the floor with the violin on my ankle, the scroll of the violin on my ankle, on my right ankle. So the left leg is folded completely, and the right leg is, I sit cross-legged and I bring it forward a bit, and I place the scroll on my ankle like this here, and then uh, I put my violin beneath my collarbone here, and I balance it out. So when I do it this way, my hands are free, and I put it on my ankle, and my neck is free. So that speaks of my posture. And about my left hand, yes, the left hand technique, I use a lot of glides and slides. And as Indian music, I would call the music is not on the notes as it is in the West, it's in between the notes. So there's a lot of microtones working for every scale. So every scale, every note uh, might be a little, I would say, you have microtones. So it's a little low, it's a little high. I can give you an example to show you, which I will do soon. And my tuning is something which only I do this, not everybody. I've used viola strings on my violin because it's not like in the West where you are playing in an orchestra. This is solo, means it's just me as the violin player with the percussion instrument performing a 3 hour concert. So it's very hard to, if it's very high pitched, it's going to be hard for people to listen to. So I brought down the pitch of the violin. I use viola strings, but I tune them differently. So I use a 3/4 size viola string, and uh, I moved up the C up to D, the G up to A, that's D again, that's A again. So A, D, A, D. That's what I did. So, and the tuning does not change much because our we do not play from different pitches. Like we do not play from C, we do not play from D. So everything that we play, like I play from D. So anything I play, I'll be playing it from D, and I'll be transposing it in my mind. So that's how I play. And yes, let me see what more. Some musicians and artists that inspire you and your music. Uh, a lot of people. It's just not one. When I listen to a lot of musicians, there are a lot of things which stay in my mind from a particular musician's music, and which comes out as my own when I play, and then I realize, oh my god, this is what I heard. And and it comes out as my something of my own. So yes, but in Indian music there are two artists. One is my teacher, Pandit Jasraj. Then there is a very great singer called Kishori Amonkar, who's no more. And then there is, of course, Ustad Zakir Hussain, who have inspired me. Uh, any different from Carnatic music? Yes, both the styles are totally different in the sense they still have rag and tal, but all the scales, the rags are different in Carnatic. Some are the same, but they have different names, and the technique is different, the form is different, the presentation is different, everything is different. So that is a totally different classical system altogether. In India, we have two different classical systems. One is Hindustani and one is Carnatic. And Hindustani has more leeway for improvisation, which Carnatic music does not have. There is leeway for improvisation there, but more structured. And Hindustani gives you a lot of independence to play within a structure. Yeah. And thank you, Jim. Is it Jimmy? Thank you, Jimmy. So the best way to learn these ornaments is to practice some exercises. So I have, I think one of the exercises that you could do is this, the slide. If you see, when I played the E to F, I switched fingers, but you didn't know. You see, F to G, you won't figure out me switching fingers. That's what I do. So this is one exercise, and then playing on one string. All in one finger, and then with different. So I use all these things, and then as you learn, you start picking up more and more ornamentations. So yes, yes, Maurizio, I am thinking of D or A as the root of the rag. Yes, that is my tonic. Yes. Some of the common rags are what is? So we start with Bhairav. So the scale is this. So this we start with this is called Bhairav. Then we go to this is Kalyan. Then this is Kafi, not coffee. And then this is Bhairavi. So you with these four rags we cover the whole gamut of the major and the minor notes, the flats and the sharps, everything is covered with these four. And then we have pentatonic scales, like so like this we have many scales, and then we have scales like 5 in the ascending, 6 in the descending, or 7 in the descending, like so this is 5 and 7. The names of the 4 main rags are Bhairav, Bhairav. Maybe I could type it. Bhairav, Bhairavi, Kafi, and these 4 rags kind of bring in all the notes that you need to learn. And then we have different more main rags, but these 4 just bring in all the notes. So these are first taught to kids in the beginning, and then we go into pentatonic scales, and then 5 and 7, 6 and 7, 5 in the ascending, 6 in the descending, or 6 in the ascending, 5 in the descending. Depends. We have many scales like that. And then the basic way how we start developing on improvisation is like we have. Oh, this is another scale which is very important, the major scale. So it's called Bilaval. This is the major. So this one too is, we work on this too. So we start creating our own exercises. So then something like this, you can create your own exercises, and these patterns, basically this is something I've created. So keeping the first note as your constant, you will get 6 different patterns, and then keeping the second, like if you play, if this is the first note, something like this. Then so these are exercises. When we keep on playing this and we memorize them, later on when we have to improvise, it becomes very easy for us. And this includes playing playing includes all these variations in different scales. Like for example, you have the major scale, you have the natural fourth. Now just maintaining the natural fourth and switching between the flat and the sharps of, you're going to get I would say 16 scales, just keeping the G as the constant, natural, G natural. Then keeping this as the constant, and when you keep changing whatever, you do all those changes, you're going to get another 16 scales. So you have 32 scales already to practice. And then you have these variations and the patterns that you can create on your own, and you work on them. So when you master these things, then improvisation becomes very easy, which is why an Indian musician always improvises. It doesn't have a problem with improvisation. And the other thing is, yes, about the microtones that I was talking. So we have the same 12 notes as it is in Western music, but the only thing is the quarter tones and whatever that we have. I will show you a scale which has all that. So let's go to so we have scales for the morning, for the afternoon, for the evening, for the night. We have different scales. So I'm going to show you how the same note sounds different in the morning and in the evening. So this is because of the use of microtones. So in Indian music, it's considered that music has a connection with nature and the physiology of the individual. So which is why rags, which literally means coloring the mind, scales which color the mind, so they have an impact on how you feel. So one of the scales I talked about Bhairav. So now hear this note. Okay? Now I'm going to go to an evening scale, which has the same flat second, but you're going to hear the microtones now. This rag is called Shri. Did you hear the Shruti? Did you hear the change? Now, this is an evening scale, morning scale. The morning scale is a little high, but in the evening, now it's a little low. So these microtones or shrutis, as it's called in Indian music, these have a connection with nature and the physiology of the individual, and it determines how you feel after listening to a particular scale. So the morning scale is more, I would say, spiritual, prayer, devotion. You know, if I play that rag for some time, you will feel it. And in the evening, it's more melancholic. It's more like you just want to be with yourself. So the way I look at it is, morning you're up, you're bright, you're ready for the day. And in the morning when you get up, first thing you want to do is, take some time for yourself and be in prayer or something, just to. And then in the evening, you back from work, you're tired, and then the way the note is, it's lower than the flat second in the evening, and it's a bit higher than the proper place of the flat second in the morning. So this speaks of how it determines how the note determines how you feel during the day. Yeah. And what else was I asked? When did the violin first get introduced to Indian music? So basically, we had instruments which I would call as ancestors to the violin, which are played with the bow. So it was first called Dhanur Veena. So every instrument is called the Veena, and it's any stringed instrument. And the bowed instrument was called Dhanu. Bow literally in Sanskrit in India means Dhanu. So Dhanur Veena, the one which is played with the bow, the Veena which is played with the bow. So it was called Dhanur Veena, and this I'm talking of 5,000 years ago. And then later on, I think in the 6th or 7th century AD in India, when the Arabs came in for trade, they took our instrument. By that time, it got renamed as Ramntah and it became a folk instrument. That was played with the bow. And if I have to see the difference of what Ramntah was and what the violin is today, the Ramntah is even there in India today. It's a round, hollow body with just one string and played with a bow. And our fingerboard is 5.5 inches long, and it has 4 strings covering 3 octaves. That fingerboard is 22 inches long and has 1 string covering 3 octaves. So it's the same thing. What we play in 4 strings here, 5.5 into 4 is 22. So I feel that probably was the ancestor, and the Arabs took it to Europe, to Persia. They called it rababe, and I hear when the invasion of the Moors happened in Spain, this instrument, this rababe, went there and it became the viol, and then went into Europe and became the viola, and then the violin. And in the 17th century, the British, when they were ruling India, brought it back, and it's been there from the 17th century. So, my early training in musical journey. I come from a family of musicians, and I am the 7th generation in my family. And I started violin when I was just 2.5 years old, and my life has been I've lived a very disciplined life of practice, which is why I think I'm where I am today. So, and my grandfather was strict with me, seeing that I practiced and everything. And from the age of 12, I've been performing. And what else do I say? A lot of practice. That's all I've done. Are those microtones and their variations different in each region of India? No. In classical music, no. It's the same in each region. And we have different forms if light classical music, folk music. Practice about 5 to 6 hours daily for a period of 15 to 20 years or even more. That's what I've done. And listening to a lot of music, and also um, improving my my knowledge in music. These are things that I've done, and I still keep doing. So it's never ending. I still feel I've just scratched the surface. There's a lot more I can do. Hi woman, how are you? Yes, how much do I sing now when I practice? I sing when I teach, but I when I learn something, when I compose something, then I do it by singing, and then I play it on the violin. So that's what I do. Some music. Okay. Would you want to listen to a scale for this time of the day? So I think that's better. Play something. I do. I do have special techniques which I play, and that can be used in the Western musical context too. The technique that I use, it can be used there. It's just that one has to sit and practice it. That's it. Some music. So this rag is called Shuddh Sarang, and it is for this time of the day. And this is a scale. Now, that I played had a lot of improvisation. And what kind of notation do I use? I don't use any notation. So as I said, Indian music has never been documented. It's all been stuff where you learn from your teacher, you hear and play, and so that's what I follow. And when I compose too, I just compose and then I record it. And then now I've found a way of writing my music myself, but I don't think anybody will understand it except me. So that's what it is. So basically, this the way you play the scale is. So you have both the fourth, the natural fourth and the raised fourth. Both you have coming following one another. But in the ascending, you do not have the natural fourth. You have the raised fourth. So you have to maintain that all the time. You saw that? I did not do that. So that's how you go. So you have to maintain these rules while playing. So in the ascending, if you don't have, though you may have both the raised and the natural fourth in the descending, in the ascending you can only use the raised fourth, so you'll have to use that. The tuning is D, A, D, A or A, D, A, D. That's what I use. This rag is called Shuddh Sarang. Let me type it. Shuddh Sarang. Yes, that's the rag. Yeah. I'm just looking. Oh, beautiful. Yes. Yes. So, like you have, the composition was. I'll try and sing some for you to know what I do when I say I play vocal music on the violin. So it's like this. जाओ जी जाओ शाम छलिया जाओ जी जाओ शाम. So if I'm singing this, if I have to play this on the violin, जाओ जी जाओ शाम छलिया. So wherever there are syllables, that's where I play. That's where I bow. So जाओ जी जाओ शाम छली. So another bow. Chaliya. So my bowing is determined by the syllables or the words of the composition. So you could have मोरे मन की न जाने. So all that would be in one bow. the music that I play, it starts off very slow, where it's like I have this scale. So this is a scale, and now I have to develop on this scale. It's all improvisation. So note by note I develop. It's like you can imagine that I have certain colors given to me and I'm supposed to create a painting. So whatever I feel at that moment of time is what will be created. So if I'm going to make a portrait, how would I make it? I mean, probably I'd start with the eyes and the eyebrows and the nose. So it's all, the whole music is like that. So it starts off note by note, I develop the scale. So this development can happen, uh, like it could be done in 3 minutes, or it could be done, I could go on for about an hour developing the scale note by note and without being repetitive in my phrasing. So it depends on my mood and how I feel. And then rhythmically we start building it up. So this is total without any rhythm in it. The first movement is called alap, where we do this without any development, without any rhythmic development. And then the second movement is called boltan, where we use rhythm. So, and then we come to tan, which is uh, developing, taking it further, faster and faster, till we get to a crescendo. So we have 3 to 4 movements like that, and developing it. Sometimes I can do the whole thing for about an hour and a half, just one scale. Shuddha Sarang I can play for an hour and a half, or I can just finish it in 3 minutes. It's all up to me how I feel, what I want to do, but I have to follow certain rules, and that is all I do. And the rules are stick to the rules of the rag, and then stick to the rhythmic cycle. So in classical music has many different cycles, like of 16 beat cycle, which is a 4/4, or a 10 beat cycle, 7 beat cycle, 9 beat cycle. So okay, the 4 movements: alap, boltan or jod. Boltan is what a vocalist would use, and jod is what an instrumentalist would call it. And then tan or jhala is the fast speed. Again, tan is what in Indian vocalist would call, and jhala is what an instrumentalist would call it. So the technique of bowing and using slides from your ornaments, how and from. Okay, this playing according to the syllables, bowing according to the syllables, I learned, I figured it out myself, because if I wanted to be close to vocal music, I had to do something. And some of the slides of the ornaments, the ornamental slides that I do, some of them, the technique is my own, and some I got from my grandfather. He taught me. So half of it is what I've developed. I'm still trying. I'm, listening and figuring out which would sound close to the voice. What would sound close to the voice? Which finger, if I use, would sound good for this phrasing? So that's how I've been doing it. Yeah. Yes, it is all phonetical. Yeah. So in Indian music, our ears are considered to be our eyes. Like you read music in the West, our ears, we need sharp ears to hear all the microtones. So we say that our ears are our eyes. So yes, show me more of practice exercises for rag than practice for a rag you're less familiar with. Concept of tetrachords exists in classical music. Okay. So exercises for rags that I'm not familiar with. So in my as far as my practice goes, I've always practiced with scales which have all the notes in it, like all the 7 notes, ascending and descending. And but it could be flat or sharp. It could be flat in the ascending, and descending it could be natural. It doesn't matter. That's how I practice. Pentatonic scales and no scales with 5 and 7, 5 in the ascending, 7 in the descending, and all. I have not practiced any exercises, because when you do the exercises for all these 7 note scales, it becomes very easy. It becomes one with yourself. When you have to practice the other scales, it becomes easier. So by that time you're ready to, you've got a hang of how you need to approach the scale, and it becomes easier. And basically, when you play this alap, slow note by note delineation of the rag actually opens up to you. You have a vision as to how you could navigate in this scale. So, but it's a slow process, it takes time. And for someone who wants to study and practice Hindustani, there should be. I think you should get a teacher who knows, who can teach you well, because Indian music is basically passed on from teacher to the student. Studying from recordings and treatises comes later. In the beginning, you have to go to someone to learn. Yeah. I think I've answered everything. Is there anything I missed? So somebody asked me about tetrachords. We do not have any scale. So to create a rag, you have to have 5 notes in the ascent, at least a minimum of 5 notes. That is when it is a musical scale. 4 notes can only be a phrase. It cannot be a scale. So we do not use tetrachords in Indian music. So thank you all. Is that it? Should I say bye now? Thank you all. See you soon sometime. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Woman. We're coming out with another album, Bikram and I. We're working on it right now, Michael. A little more. What do I play now? Okay, let me see what I can play. 1 second. Thank you. Thank you all.